is bipolar disorder. For most people, they do not even know and understand when we talk about bipolar, what do we mean? What is the actual medical definition and symptoms that come along with it? And that is what we want to talk about today. And helping us with these conversations, I have two guests in studio. I have with me Samuel Ochieng, who is an advocate of the High Court, as well as someone who has lived with bipolar. Good morning, Samuel.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thanks.
Are you on social media?
Yes, I am.
Maybe you could give our viewers the social handles so that if they want to interact with you on that platform, they can do so as well.
Yeah, Facebook, Samuel Ochieng. Twitter, Samuel Ochieng. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So those are his handles. And we're also going to be having Dr. Lois Kagwe, who is a counseling psychologist, who will be joining us via Zoom in a bit. But then again, questions about bipolar, we absolutely welcome them, as grand or as little as they may be. As long as you are seeking clarification, please feel free to send them through. Now, let's get started with you, Samuel. You know, as introduced, you are an advocate of the High Court, but you have also lived with bipolar. And
for 20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. I was first diagnosed in the year 2000. Yes.
Now, let's go back to pre-diagnosis before you got to understand that this is what the condition you were living with.
Yes.
How was life before that for you, even as a kid growing up?
I grew up in a slum called Mudurwa. And my dad was a yard foreman there. And that's where I grew up most of my teenage. And I studied in Nairobi Milimani High School. And from there I moved to University of Nairobi, where I studied economics and sociology. Then I moved to law.
You changed your courses along the journey?
Yes.
Now, what was your... Speaker yetu, it's getting excited about these conversations. But looking back, what was your first or earliest interactions with bipolar that you noticed but were not sure as to what it was?
Bipolar is something that is innate in you. It is something that you are born with. It waits for a point in time in your life where there's a big trigger that now triggers it to manifest. And mostly it's about 25 years of age that people get the first manifestations of it. Yeah, so I was a musician before I was diagnosed. I used to sing gospel music. And I think the pressure of, I used to go to even 5 concerts in a day. And I used to sing with children. And I think that's where the trigger came in because of pressure and stress.
How old were you at that point?
Around 19, 20.
Okay.
Yeah. And bipolar, there are 3 types of bipolar. There's bipolar 1. Bipolar 2 and cyclothymic disorder. And bipolar 1, at some point in your life, you must have been diagnosed as being psychotic. And you have something called mania, where now you have lost touch with reality. And bipolar 2 disorder is a bit mild, where we have mania and depression. You oscillate between mania, extreme shifts in energy, moods, and maybe you are extremely happy, joyful, excited, and at times you are low, now on depression. When you're depressed, you are just like a normal depressed person. But now the difference between bipolar and other types of depression is that now there's now the other side of it where you are extremely happy, extremely energetic, and if left unchecked, now it can be developed to psychosis, where now you have lost touch with reality. Delusions, hallucinations. All right. So what are some of the earliest symptoms that you started, noticing or exhibiting when you first had your triggers just sort of ticket? So I used to sleep less, and that became a danger sign. And you see now, when you are now psychotic, I was on the mania now. The mania phase. Now, when you're mania phase, now you become psychotic, you lose touch with reality. I was now overzealous of matters to do with religion. I remember one time I thought I was a prophet sent by God to deliver all the prostitutes in Nairobi. I used to spend my time on the streets preaching to them, and interestingly, some of them got born again and came off the streets. So I became psychotic. All I remember was I was tied up and taken to a psychiatric ward.
All right.
Yes.
That was when you were first taken to the hospital.
Yes.
And was it at
the
that
year
point
2000
that you got the diagnosis, or you were still misdiagnosed and given other reasons before you actually get to understand it was bipolar?
I think the doctor was correct in his first diagnosis. At the initial stages, the year 2000, it was called manic depression.
Yes, manic depression.
Manic depression. But later, the name bipolar came.
Yes.
Yeah, so the doctor just told me, just to understand it, he said, in the Christian world, it's called demonic attack. But now in this medical world, as we call it, manic depression. Yes.
Now, at that point, do you feel you had information about what you were going through, or it was just a whole new experience, even for you as an individual, your family members? Because, you know, again, it's a hereditary condition, but it's not as known. Did you have the information to help you and your family understand that this is where it could have come from and this is actually it?
At that point, we didn't know anything about it at all. We were green, and we were now relying on the help of the psychiatrist. And you see, at that time, there were few psychiatrists in the country. So getting time with your psychiatrist to discuss even these issues with you was, time was limited, and you could only go and maybe you were seen in 5 minutes or 10 minutes and given medication. And so I didn't understand myself. One moment I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm energetic, I have ideas, I can sing, you know. And at another moment, I'm depressed. I'm thinking about suicide. You know, I've lost hope in life, and I think people don't love me. And, you know, and then it kept on oscillating. And also my family didn't understand me. My mother, my brothers didn't understand. Well, this guy, one moment is joyful, one moment is depressed. And you see, bipolar now, the depressive mood, it now attacks all the aspect of your life. Showering becomes difficult. Yeah, even showering becomes difficult. Brushing your teeth becomes difficult. Getting out of bed becomes very, very difficult. And I didn't understand myself. So the doctor kind of walked with me through the journey. And the year 2000 is when I joined the university with the condition. Okay. And I didn't pass.
Now, before we even get to that, to understand, you know, how at least school was for you, looking at your family setup, were you the only one who was showing signs of having had bipolar triggered, or there was anyone else in your family that was also exhibiting the same?
Yeah, there are a few uncles. Yeah,
in the extended family?
In the extended family, but not in the immediate family.
All right.
Yes.
Now, coming to how your quality of life was affected along the journey. Let's start with the point that you now got to join university.
Yes.
Actively knowing about this condition.
So when I joined university in the year 2002, I was still trying to understand myself, trying to understand the condition. And it was a difficult journey because some of my college mates, schoolmates, I think, they got wind of it, and this word spread. So you see now stigma set in, and I couldn't relate well with my classmates in school. And I used to live a very isolated life. I used to spend most of the time in the hostel. I avoided going to the library, and you know, students can be very mean.
Trust me, I know.
When I say maybe I'm happy or something or depressed, wanakwambia kwani dawa za wazimu zimeisha, and they tell you things like that. You pass and you hear cheesy habari, and you so those stereotypes and prejudices. I went through them, and I can say because of bipolar, I didn't pass. I failed in about 15 units. In this, I went all the way for 4 years. I was studying economics and sociology, but I didn't graduate.
Yeah, you couldn't graduate.
So I failed in 15 units because of the condition.
That's almost a third of most courses. Because I know most courses range between 48 to 60 units, depending on the course one is doing. So 15 was a huge number.
Yes, I didn't used to go to the lectures, fearing stigma and people. Yeah, so I used to study alone in the hostel.
So what came next after that? You know, given no classes, consequently not graduating.
Now the condition escalated, because now I went now to depression deep down. Now I became very suicidal. Now hope was gone. You see, now I've failed in campus.
Yes.
So I literally did not have any hope in life. And I thought about suicide many times. I thought the fastest way to kill myself, but I didn't go through it to attempt, but I really thought about it. But then my brother is also an advocate of the High Court. I told him, now, my bro, what do we do? I admire you as a lawyer. So can I go back to school? Can you pay my fees? I go back to school and try it one more time.
Yes.
And he gave me the opportunity. But he asked me first, can you reason? Because in law now you have to reason. Yeah, and he was a bit skeptical about my condition. So I assured him, and I went back to campus in 2008.
Okay.
Nairobi University Parklands campus.
All right. Now, in also trying to keep yourself regulated, up to date with your medication, how were you when it came to taking the medication that was prescribed to you?
The medication, I didn't, at first I didn't like the medication. They make you drowsy. You become like a walking dead person. And there were so many of them. You know, in bipolar, you have to take antipsychotic medication.
Yes.
You have to take mood stabilizers. And you have to take antidepressants. So you're taking a combination of maybe 4 medications.
Yes.
And this medication work like steroids. And at times I used to, at the beginning stages, when I didn't understand that medication is very important, I used to avoid taking some of those medications that made me feel the way I felt. Yeah. And then this made me now to relapse. You know, lack of taking medication makes you relapse. Yeah, it adds to the problem. Now a relapse is where you go back to psychosis or depression, and then you have to be hospitalized.
Okay.
Yes.
So in terms of helping you get back to understanding that in as much as the medicine wasn't making you feel as best as you would want to feel, it was necessary.
It was necessary, yeah.
Were you also having counseling or therapy to help you understand that, which was it was just a question of you understanding or learning the hard way?
I learned the hard way. You know, when around the year 2000 and 2008, there were a few psychiatrists in Kenya and also psychotherapists. The disease was now developing and these people were not there. So you could, there was limited time in me being counseled by the psychiatrist because of the number of patients he had to handle. Okay. So this journey I walked through alone, and I discovered it alone.
All right.
Yes.
Now let's look at the role that your family played during all this time that you are going through what you're going as an individual, and especially in an age where you're discovering yourself, discovering your career, your path. How was the family in terms of support, in terms of helping you stay accountable? How was that space?
Yes, at first it was very difficult, especially for my brother, who was the one financing now the medication and hospitalization. Yes. It was very expensive. You see, we could spend even 250,000 in the hospital, 200,000 in the hospital, and it took a toll on them. Yes. And but they have come to help me along the journey, because now, due to those interactions with them and staying with them, I used to stay with my brother and my mother in the same place, in the same house. And so they came to learn about the symptoms as being advised by the doctors. And so they kind of know when I'm sick, when I need hospitalization. They check on me, they tell me, no, you need to get hospitalized because now you are lacking sleep. We have seen you are lacking sleep. You are now spending more time in your room. You're not coming out. So they have come to learn about my symptoms, and they know when I should check in to the hospital.
All right.
Yes.
Remember, guys, we're talking about bipolar as part of the mental health conversations that we are trying to make a norm here in the country. And today we are focusing on bipolar. Again, we welcome you to share with us your thoughts or questions that you may be having in regards to this discussion. We will be addressing them as we proceed on with this conversation. So send them through. We will get to them in a bit. But